Maxie, I've been thinking, should we do season 3 on the Dr. Joe show? You sure? You sure it's a good idea? Just a few quick things that weren't within that sixth part of the article that I found from other parts of the article that were also very, very interesting. Now, where the heck is everything? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, number one, this is funny. I was determined to try every Cuban cigar Cuba had to offer. I have had my share of Cuban cigars over 30 plus years, and I have been in the cigar business, but I could be sure this time that the cigars I would be smoking were truly authentic Cuban cigars. But that's how much you know about Cuban cigars. That the only way you could be sure that they were authentic was to be in Cuba. First of all, there are more fakes in Cuba than in any one state of the United States. And second of all, that's just a pretty sad statement, because I can tell a fake, well, let's just say I don't have to go to fucking Cuba to know I'm smoking a real Cuban cigar. That's for fucking damn sure. But what's really fucking ironic about your statement of I could be sure that this time the cigars I would be smoking were truly authentic Cuban cigars, here's your list. Monte Cristo number 4, Cohiba Maduro number 5, Magnifico, Hoyo de Monterrey Epicure, Robena, just Robena. H.Upmann, Monte Cristo number 2, Partagas D, no 4. Bolivar, Trinidad, Cohiba Robusto Supreme, but here's the funny one. Monte Cristo Double Edmundo Maduro. Monte Cristo Double Edmundo Maduro? There's no such fucking thing. It's not listed. It's not even a proposed release. There's just no such fucking thing as a Monte Cristo Double Mundo Maduro. No such thing. And it's not like it was a typo and right next to it says Cohiba Magnifico, so I said, oh, he put the comment. No, the next cigar over is the Pt.5, which of course, there's no fucking Maduro. So you smoked a Monte Cristo Double Edmundo Maduro. I would love to try one of those. I really fucking would, man. So I found that quite funny, especially since right before that you said, this time I could be sure the cigars would be truly authentic Cuban cigars since you were in Cuba. Well, I don't know if you did something wrong in your typing or not. It doesn't look like it. Everything else looks okay. And there's no such thing as that cigar. That is not a Cuban cigar. Very quickly, actually there was a list here of a few comments of somebody who was agreeing with Dave. Well, not really agreeing, but saying there were certain things they found a little uneasy. So they had 5 different things here and 4 different things, and I'll comment on each of them. Number 1, Cuban cigars will soon be available in USA when embargo is lifted. So Dave will be selling these in his stores sooner or later. He's defending his agenda. No, he won't. No, he won't. No, he won't. The way it's going to work is they won't be available in stores for a long time. And then one day, if Habanos S.A. ever does come to an agreement with the American side of the cigar industry, there will likely be La Casa del Habano shops specializing in Cuban cigars, but that wouldn't be for some time. They would probably be competitive. Selling Cuban cigars right next to the non-Cuban cigars, never going to happen, not unless General merges with Habanos S.A. or some crazy thing like that. I just don't think so. I just don't think it's going to happen. But again, that's just opinion. 2, some of the photography evidence is intriguing. Bales of tobacco that don't denote the type of tobacco, just that it came from Pinar del Rio, where there is an abundance of farms. Well, number 1, in Cuba, if it says it came from Pinar del Rio, that basically does mean it did not come from Vuelta Abajo. And there are only a few cigars that use specifically Pinar del Rio tobacco. Pinar del Rio meaning could have come from any of the farms anywhere else. You know which one of them is? Vigueros. Vigueros is one of them. The factory that apparently they wouldn't let him into, because that's where they make the less than cigars. One of the 27 brands. Vigueros was actually discontinued in 2012 and just made a little bit of a comeback, but it's like an everyday smoke, nothing special. And on the box it says Pinar del Rio tobacco, where every other box says Vuelta Bajo tobacco, even though Vuelta Bajo is actually in Pinar del Rio. It can get a little confusing, you know? So that's why I say, when you keep saying, Dave, oh, shocking conclusion, shocking conclusion. No, it's not shocking. It's just that you didn't know what the hell was going on. You assumed that because you've been in the tobacco industry on the American side for so long that you would know what was going on when you saw it in the Cuban side, but you didn't, because things work very, very differently there. Now, also, the bale of tobacco, by the way, you keep pointing at the label, how it says the date, 1 year, so it was aged a year, and it says Pinar del Rio. You never mentioned the gigantic number, the gigantic fucking number in black ink stamped onto the bale. Now, just because you don't know what that number means, are you just assuming that, oh, it's there because it was a scrap piece of burlap that had it on it to begin with? I don't think so. I think that the guys at the factory know damn well what that number means. Again, you're assuming, or again, you're overlooking the obvious, or again, you're just trying to prove a point by looking at what you, trying to prove the point you want to prove by looking past the basic facts. How can you not see that giant ink stamp right there and never once refer to it? Picture right here. Also, rollers rolling all different brands in at the same time, assorting colors, and they don't know what brand it's going to be until... I've got multiple pictures of people sorting different colored cigars from you here, and all I see in each of them is one person with a ton of cigars of the same exact vitola. It's the same cigar. It's not like there's a lump of Churchills and a lump of double Coronas and a lump of Robustos. There's not all different brands here. It's a line of, say, double Coronas that they're going to sort, and that's going to be... And also, right next to these people, I see boxes of cigars, all of the same exact thing. So, you're taking pictures that aren't proving your point. You know, if you had taken a picture that showed a guy with a box of Monte half full open and a box of Cohiba half full open and a box of Partagas half full open, and each box was half full and 3/4 full, and there were 7 different shapes all laying around in front of him in a fucking jumble, then maybe I'd say, wow, this is fucking confusing. Something's amiss. But that's not the case in either of your pictures. Moving on. It is intriguing how the H.Upmann factory had no H.Upmann cigars in them. No, it's not at all. And I'll tell you why. First of all, Dave, you weren't at the H.Upmann factory. You were at the Romeo y Julieta factory, where they are right now producing H.Upmann cigars, because the actual H.Upmann factory is closed for renovations. In 2003, the original factory closed. They built a brand new one. Unfortunately, that one suffered due to all sorts of flooding and problems and bad construction, so Upmann had to move to Romeo y Julieta, where several brands are being produced, including Montecristo and Diplomatico. Now, Cigar Aficionado a little while ago went to this very same factory, where they were producing H.Upmann, but at the time, they weren't producing Diplomatico. You see, H.Upmann, although it has only recently become a global brand, is not a huge seller. In fact, it's like 7th or 8th on the list of top sold cigars. So they're going to be making Montecristos and Romeo y Julietas way before they're making H.Upmanns. They may have fulfilled the year's share, Or they may be doing it after they're done with the Montes and Romeos, which sell 10 times more. Monte Cristo is the #1 selling brand in the world, with the Monte Cristo #4 being the most sold cigar ever, always, in the world. So they're going to produce that brand first. It is of no oddness whatsoever to me to hear that H.Upmann, and anybody who knows anything about Cuban cigars will agree with me, there's nothing odd going on there at all. In fact, the brands are moved around so frequently, it's actually funny. There are only 8 factories, yet there are 27 brands. You know, they're at capacity. According to Carlito Fuente, in an article he once did for somebody, I forget, probably Cigar Aficionado, he stated once that 5 brands were the most that any one factory could handle. And Cuba sticks to those rules. Usually they produce 3 or 4 at a factory. Sometimes 5, but I've rarely heard of one producing more than that. There are so many smaller, non-global brands all over the place that have to be produced, although in small numbers. And you won't always see these being produced all the time at any one factory. El Rey del Mundo, small local brand. There's an El Rey del Mundo factory. I wouldn't be surprised if I walked in there and they weren't producing El Rey del Mundo at the moment, but were using it instead to produce extra Cohibas. Or, because Cohiba, even though born at La Guido, isn't always rolled at La Guido. In fact, for a long time, only the Corona Especialis was rolled there, and every other shape was rolled at Partagas. Now, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. This very painful episode of the Dr. Joe Show, and I've never said that before. So before I wrap it up, let me say this. This has been an article full of assumptions, slippery use of language barriers, you even said so yourself, overlooking the obvious, hidden agendas and motives, not really knowing what you're looking at, not really knowing where you are, and even possibly smoking fake Habanos without knowing it, to the point where you typed it in the article and still haven't realized it. I think everything I've put together here speaks for itself. But I have a bit of a kicker. And yes, this is the Dr. Joe Show, and those who know me know I always have a kicker. Did anybody bother looking at the boxes in the pictures of the people with the multicolored cigars? The ones that Dave said were all different brands without bands being chosen by, even though all the boxes next to them were the same exact fucking brand and all the cigars were the same exact fucking size, where all that was going on was color sorting, nothing more and nothing less. Did anybody bother to look at what brands those boxes were? No, because we were all so focused on the cigars. Are those cigars different, or where are the bands? Yes, H.Upmann. A whole giant fucking stack of them, with one box in front of the gentleman with the logo clear as day right on the fucking face. And albeit small and albeit fuzzy, I know a goddamn H.Upmann logo when I see one. There is nothing else it could be. So, Dave, even though you weren't really in the H.Upmann factory, but were in the Romeo and Juliet factory, which used to be the Cuesta Rey factory, and no, Cuesta Rey hasn't always belonged to J.C. Newman. In fact, it was a very old Cuban cigar brand, and that's why that's there, not because fucking Cubans like J.C. Newman, or J.C. Newman is everywhere, as your article supposes. Even though you were but weren't in the H.Upmann factory and thought there were no H.Upmann cigars, which is weird. Well, that whole thing just falls apart because there were, in fact, H.Upmann cigars in the factory. God can only tell you I am tired right now. So, I am going to go to bed, prepare myself for tomorrow's workday, while I decide on what Cuban cigar to smoke next. This article has done absolutely nothing in the way of deterring me from smoking Cuban cigars in any way whatsoever. In fact, it just makes me want to smoke them so I can blow their smoke in the faces of people like you who walk around hating on what they don't understand, or for even worse, for hidden motives and agendas, as stated previously. It's not that I want to be mean. It's not that I want to be an asshole. I think I've been very cordial. Yes, a little harsh, but that's just how I am. That's where I'm from. I'm a little gruff. I can't help it. But I didn't call you names, and I didn't send you hate mail, and I didn't even look at your rebuttal as far as, maybe I will at some point. But I don't care what other people have to say. I care what I think. And I look at the facts. And what I see is a guy who took a picture not 5 feet away from an H.Upmann box of a table full of cigars and didn't even see it there. That says a lot right there. Do you really know what you're looking at? Are you even able to look at what's there, whether or not you know what you're looking at, if you know what you're looking at? Everybody wants to be successful. Who doesn't? It's human nature. We all want to be successful. But I sit here and I do this show because I love cigars and because I love doing this show. For those two reasons, none more, none less. I don't do it because I own a company. I don't do it because I want to sell something. I don't do it because I want to push a brand or something in your face. I'm certainly not here to prostitute myself on YouTube for a few fucking free cigars from whatever company is willing to give them to me. I'm here because I love cigars. In fact, this show was started on the very premise of getting to the bottom of the truth with the old Fake or Find series. And we did it well. We did it so well that there are now well over 2,000 more people in the United States who can enjoy Cuban cigars anytime they want to. And with that, if any aspect of what you had been saying were true, that I saw enough evidence there to think it were true, even halfway, trust me, I would have said so. It's not that I'm just full of doubt. You can see I'm very analytical and I pick things apart very well. I think critically. I think your article is just not empirical at all. It's suggestive. And even then, it just lacks conviction. It's late. It's 3 a.m. actually, and I have work at 6. But doing this episode kept me up all night, and I feel it was well worth it. Tomorrow it will be edited, and should be with you guys by the weekend. Anyway, enough out of me. Now it's time for something to come out of you. Comment back. Email back. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions pertaining to any part of the article that you think I didn't explain or would like further explanation on, please just let me know. I will be glad to do so. That's what I do. Because I'm Joe. And this is the Dr. Joe Show. And that's what we do on the Dr. Joe Show. It's just sad that it has to come to this sometimes, And can't we just all fucking smoke our cigars and be happy? Does this industry too have to be like everything else in the world where there's always a middle ground where people have problems and everything sucks? That's why I don't want to be bothered with this shit again. Please. Just keep on smoking.
Say goodnight, Max.